Look, I want to tell you some things about big picture and detail. I'm really glad that Lynn did share some really specific examples of using social media, because I want to, first of all, give you the big picture around it, and then give you some really practical things that we can do. So we've got about half an hour working together, and I want to give you some practical stuff as well. So as Nikki said, I've written the book Fast, Flat and Free, and I think that's really how the world has changed. It's changed in those three ways. And particularly for us, I think that fast and flat are the most important. So I'll start off with telling you a little bit about how the world has changed to become faster. So let's see if my technology is working, which it's not at the moment, but that's all right. That's what always happens when you speak with technology. All right, so the world has become faster, and technology has definitely been a big part of it, right? You may have seen that fact that there was more technology in the first digital watch than there was in the whole Apollo 11 space mission. And I think that's really impressive, and I should also say for the Gen Ys here, can I just see if there's a Gen Y in the room? Okay, so first of all, thank you for still being here. and secondly, I need to tell you what a watch is. It's these devices that we used to have in the 20th century that used to carry around with us and used to tell us the time. And that's all it did, right? Like, I know, right? Crazy. So this was 1969. And now, so that was when we went to the moon. Now we're talking about colonizing other planets, like far beyond our solar system. And we don't have the technology yet, but we soon will, where we're able to put people on a spaceship and send them to another planet. Can I just check who's interested in getting on a spaceship and going to another planet? Okay, a couple of people. Who can think of somebody else that'd like to put on a spaceship? Yeah, me too. Right? It's like a goodbye Kim Kardashian for me. Yeah, that's not very fair, is it? I think any of the Kardashians would do. So we're not quite there yet, but we will be there soon. But there's a problem with this. The problem is not that the technology is moving too slow. The problem is it's moving too fast. So here's the whole problem with that whole Kardashians in space scenario. So in a few years, you'll be able to get on a rocket with Kim and Chloe and Courtney, set off to another planet, but before you get there, long before you get there, you'll be overtaken by another rocket that left Earth many years later, but with fast technology. Right, so why would you get on this one? You wouldn't, right? You might as well wait for that one. But that one has the same problem, because that one leaves, and by the time it gets there, before it gets to the planet, it gets overtaken by another one, and so on and so forth. So here's the paradox. The world is moving so fast now, it doesn't make sense for any of us to leave any of those rockets on Earth. But unless one of them does, nothing happens. And I think like we kind of experience this ourselves, right? Like you might have an iPhone 4 and you go, oh, maybe I should upgrade to the iPhone 5, but no, Apple's going to bring out an iPhone 6 in October. Or maybe I should get the new iPad because that'll have the phone and the tablet. Or maybe I should get the Samsung Galaxy phone because that has it already built in. But I'll wait until they bring out the new one with the stylus built in. And you know, you can do nothing. And that's one of the problems. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing is that the world is flat. And what I mean by that is that we're breaking down barriers, we're toppling hierarchies, people don't respect you anymore because of your job title or because you have grey hair. Parents know less than their kids do. As consumers, we have a lot more power now. We don't need to rely on the experts anymore, whether it comes to going on a holiday, or finding a new restaurant, or even looking for a job. You can now look at what other people are saying about you. And if you want to know the big picture on how the world has changed, I love this picture here. If you can't read the writing, it says there are more people living inside this circle than outside it. So this picture is from Valerie Pierce on Reddit, and she's based it on the world's population at the moment. So 7 billion people in the world, 3.5 billion of them are living inside that circle. So China has 1.3 billion, India has 1.2, Indonesia has 250 million, Bangladesh 160 million, and so on and so forth. The country where I was born, Sri Lanka, this is a dot here, 22 million people. Same size as Tasmania, same population as all of Australia. Okay, so you can see how the world power has shifted in the last 200 years. 200 years ago, let's see if I can make the pointer work, 200 years ago, in the 19th century, all the power came from here, from the muzzle of a musket. from firepower and gunpower. And some countries are still trying to play that game. 100 years ago, in the 20th century, all the power came from here, driven by the dollar and business and industry. And now, the 21st century, there's no question about it. It's all going to come from people power. 3.5 billion of them. And I reckon you can look at that picture and you can be scared by it, or you can be excited by it. Right? Like me, I'm excited by it. I go, wow, there's 3.5 billion people in that circle, and they have internet access, they all want to learn English, they all want to buy our products and services, and they're right on our doorstep. No better time to be alive. But you've got to make that choice. Are you going to be excited by it, or are you going to be scared by it? I reckon I really love this quotation by Steve Martin. So I'm a kid of the 80s, and so my favorite actor was Steve Martin. And he was asked, what's the secret of your success? And he said, I've told lots of people this, and very few of them actually listen. He said, be so good they can't ignore you. Right? Be so good they can't ignore you. So the things I'm going to tell you about social media today are a little bit different than what most people say. Because most people are telling you how to use social media to fit in. I don't want you to fit in, I want you to stand out. And you saw an example earlier with Professor Beasley, how she's using social media to stand out. Okay, so I don't just want you contributing and having conversations, I want you to actually show yourself as a person of influence and authority. Now, there's only a little bit that we can cover today, so I've also got for you, and you should have a copy on your table. It's a little ebook that I wrote in conjunction with a company called Citrix, who creates this great software called GoToWebinar, which I use for all of my webinars. But they also publish a number of ebooks and special reports. I've given that for you to use, for you to refer to later, because it's got some additional ideas on how to build your social media influence and authority. Okay, so that'll be additional to what we're going to cover today. So let me give you the big picture around how to build your influence in any area, but today we're going to talk about social media. So I do have a bit of a science background. I remember when I was at school, we learned that the gravitational force between two planets was due to three things: the size of the first planet, the size of the second, and how close they were to each other. Okay, that's kind of simplifying it. I'm glad that Lynn isn't around to kind of correct me on the science, but kind of that's it, right? And I think the same is true of you and your messages. The power of your message and the power of your influence is due to three things. It's how good you are, how strong a network you have, and how well you can communicate those two things, bring those things together. So really, broadly, there are three things you need to do. Become an authority, build a community, and communicate respectfully. Like you can no longer rely on people listening to you because they have to, they listen to you because they want to. But there are 9 principles about this, and I don't want to go into all 9, but I want to share with you a couple of them. Show your face and leading with value. And really, it all starts with a blog. And Professor Beasley talked about this as well. I'm so pleased that the first thing she showed was a blog. Because a blog is a social media tool, even though a lot of people, when they start talking about social media, they're talking about Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Pinterest and Google+. Yeah, those are all important, but a blog comes first. Because once you have a blog, you can then build out, you can automatically post on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. That stuff can be automated. And if you want to get involved in other things like Google+ and Pinterest, you can get involved in those as well. But the main thing is you've got to start with the blog. So the first couple of steps, go to GoDaddy.com and get your domain name. Get a domain name attached to your name. It doesn't matter whether you're working in an organization, get a domain name attached to your name, and ideally get the .com name. So I've got GihanPerera.com. Now you may not be as lucky as I am to have a name like Gihan Perera, so your name might be taken. Yeah, I only know 4 Gihan Pereras in Perth, but I was lucky, I got the first one. I also got gihanperera.info, and that actually, so gihanperera.com is my website, gihanperera.info is my blog. I reckon for most of us, if we're not running a business, we don't need a separate website, but you should have a blog and attach your name to it, .com. Gihan Perera TV is just my YouTube channel, and I reckon mobile is going to be really important, so I've got gihanperera.mobi, even though I'm not doing anything with it at the moment. Who does have their .com name as a domain name? I know a few people here do. Great, okay. I reckon if you haven't already, go out there today and grab it at GoDaddy. It's like $10 a year. So it's not a big investment, and get it now before I buy them all and then charge exorbitant fees for buying it off me. Okay, and then go to blogger.com and sign up for a blog. Blogger is free, it's owned by Google, so you know it's going to be around for a while, and it's very easy to get started with the blog. So GoDaddy.com, blogger.com. If you don't know how to do it, find one of those Gen Ys that I was making fun of earlier and get them to help you out. Actually, I think Gen Ys get a bit of a bad rap, and this group here is obviously one that embraces Gen Ys. But I know that we still have it's been a communication problem, and I think one of the biggest issues that we have communicating with anyone is that you do have these communication issues. And I want to help you with that, because I think once you solve the communication problem, then it's very easy to tap into the power of the people that you've got in your organization. So I want to help you with that. To do that, I've written a song. This kind of works best when it's accompanied by a piano. I have one here. All right, just see how we go with this, especially with my bit of a hoarse voice at the moment. We'll see how we go. Ali, we might need this speaker turned on. Here we go. Ooh. Alright, just have to get the right key here. That's all I can play, really. Right, we'll see how we go with this. Newspapers like a blog, but with yesterday's news. And TVs like YouTube that you can't choose. A watch is a device that only tells the time. But we all had to have one, even the mime. Sorry about that. When I was your age, cigarettes were filtered and water was not. And cool meant cold, and hot meant, well, hot. And wicked was a word that meant something was done badly. And when I used the word random, it meant the result of a non-deterministic stochastic process. It wasn't used just randomly. And now you've got your own language as well, with WTF and OMG and TMI and LOL. And just when I think I know what you're going to say, you hit me with another TLA. 3-letter acronym. All right. So I hope that's solved. Thank you. All right, so let's get into some practical stuff, right? So what should you blog about? That's one of the most common questions that I get asked, because people go, I don't have anything to say, right? And I reckon we all have something to say, and we've all got something that's worthwhile saying. So the way to get started with blogging is either you've got some ideas in your head, or you want some inspiration from elsewhere. I can show you one of the best ways to get inspiration is to look for starting with your headlines. And one of the best places you can find headlines is on magazine covers. So I want to just show you, this is a cover that, is that the most stylish man in the world? Yeah, I'll take that one. So look, one of the best ways to get started with these ideas, and I want to do this as a bit of as a group exercise, so I've got these magazine covers here, I'm going to hand them around, and I just pass a couple around, I'm going to keep one for myself. So just take, I think we've got enough for about 3 per table, and pass the others around, maybe 2 or 3 per table. So I'll give you guys a couple. All right, so as they're going around, let me just explain what we're going to do. See, when you look at magazines, especially the trashy magazines have the best headlines on them. And the people who write for the magazines and the people who are paid for writing for magazines, the people who are paid the most in a magazine are the people who write the headlines on the cover. You know why? Because they're the ones who have to convince people who are standing in the checkout line at Woolies or standing in the newsagent to pick up the magazine and buy it. Right? So what we're going to do is borrow from these magazine covers and use them to write our headlines for our blog posts. It's a really easy way to get started, and when you first do it, you might think it's a little bit tacky, but actually it's quite an attractive way to write blog posts, or if you write YouTube videos, or you're going to do other things, so you're writing newsletter articles, or even email subject lines to grab one of these headlines. So I've got a, so I've got one here from Marie Claire. I find the best magazines are magazines like Cosmo. Right, so I buy them just for the covers. Actually, you don't need to do that because I can tell you can go to magazines.com,
yes,
where you can buy magazines and you can see all the covers. So go to magazines.com if you're looking for inspiration for writing blog posts and YouTube videos and anything like that, and get your ideas from there. So here's one that says, "Get sexy hair, find your hottest cut and color." Because that's a magazine from Marie Claire. So I would just change that to get to something like, let's say my topic is social media. So I go something like, "Get sexy on social media, find your hottest tools and techniques," something like that. You get the idea? All right, so your topic area will be something different. What I want you to do, in 5 minutes, I'm going to give you the chance to work with the people around you to find, and you've got about 3 to share with yourself. Does anyone not have any? Because we'll distribute them to people. All right, so find some ideas from your magazine covers that you've got, and afterwards allow someone from each table to read out one. So pick the best one from your table, and we'll get each one to read out one. All right, go for it. Just like to know who liked the exercise. It's kind of cool for getting ideas, isn't it? Right? And I use that myself, just to get inspiration for what I'm going to write about. So I'm just going to go around the room and you can just ask somebody to, maybe you can have somebody nominated on your table to read out. In fact, you might as well read out 2. Just read out 2 from your table. If you've got 2, for some people it's hard to cut it down to 2. But we'll see how we go. We start from this table over here. Good.
We had "Have electric sex tonight, 5 ways to get people in bed with your blog."
The back table over there.
we had "A shark took my iPhone," and blogging, "Get in touch with your dark side."
Cool. How about this table here?
We had "Aged care is sexy." Sex in aged care. We had a "James's Guide to Amazing Youth," from nursery to university.
Great. Fantastic. How about this table here?
We had "Youth on the aged care track, let the inner child shine."
Yeah, great. Thanks, Vicky. Virginia?
The sex quiz I took at the aged care unconvention.
Great. How about the back table there? Spokesperson?
We didn't really kind of come together on one, but we had a few: "Make your dreams come true," "Work on your bucket list," "Never feel isolated again," "Exactly how to connect online," a place called "Happy You Can Be There."
Yeah, great. That really connects with what you're doing with Befriend, isn't it, Emily? It's a great, fantastic. The back table?
We had "I'm single, happy, and decided to freeze my eggs." "I'm single, happy, and decided to freeze my body." And the article would be debating whether it'd be worthwhile to be frozen, and if you were to come back in 40 years, how much things have changed, and you know why maybe isn't a good idea to freeze your body.
Really nice.
We just had the one, it was Major Hair Miracles, the tips that changed the way you blow dry, so we changed it to Major Community Care Miracles, the tips that'll change the way you care.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And this table here?
I guess we'll keep the theme of things. Seniors nude up for a sexy, cool social media movement. How can seniors keep that cool with technology?
Thank you, everyone. So I like the idea of seniors nude up, so I'm going to give them a prize to Ben over here. All right, so look, the next thing I want you to do is just kind of get comfortable with this idea of show your face, which is not only about video, but it's about being seen online. Now, if you're like me and you've got like a face for audio, then it may take you a while to kind of get into this whole video thing. But video and just being a person online is really important. So I know many of us are part of organizations, and we have a role within the organization. And it's a very important role. So if you're CEO, sometimes you're speaking as a CEO of Baptist Care or South Care or Mercy Care or your own business or whatever. And sometimes you're speaking as yourself. And if you want to build your social media influence and authority online, you kind of got to push up at times when you're speaking as yourself. So when I say show your face, it's not only literally, although I think that's a really important part of it, but it's also making sure that you're positioned really well. So I've got this idea called a positioning matrix. You've got a card on your table, and there should be one for each of you, so you can take it home with you. It was developed by Matt Church, a really good friend, client, and mentor of mine in Sydney, and he runs this business or this organization called Thought Leaders. And I reckon for all of us, we want to be thought leaders. So I reckon you should definitely check out thoughtleaderscentral.com, which is the online community for thought leaders. Join up there. It's a Ning community, just like the one that Alicia mentioned earlier. So join up there, it doesn't cost you anything, and join the conversations about being a thought leader and building up your thought leadership. And one of the things that Matt teaches is getting your positioning right. So I want to teach you this positioning matrix. You can use this, and when we're talking about social media, I reckon the best place to use this, there's two things that I think you should do with it. One is when you write your profile on LinkedIn or Google Plus or Twitter or Facebook. This is a really useful tool for writing a good profile. The second thing I reckon you should do is when you're writing when you're doing a welcome video or some sort of video on YouTube, this is a really good way to introduce yourself. Nikki, you did this, didn't you, for your welcome video on YouTube? So you can use this process. I'm just going to run through it for you. Just to come back to that. So look, you can also use it outside the online world when you go to networking functions and people say, what do you do? Right? Now, people have often said, okay, you should have a 30-second elevator speech, but that just sounds a bit contrived. Okay, so here's a better solution. So today we're talking about social media, but you can also use this for a networking function as well, and that's where I use it. So you can get it as bonus, right? How cool is that? So it's got these 9 areas, these 9 sections, and basically what you do is you draw a 3x3 matrix and you fill it in. So I'm actually going to get you to do this, and you might want to do this. In fact, I'm going to give you a few minutes to do this after I explain it to you. So you might want to get a bit of paper and pencil or iPad and finger ready after I do the explanation, because I'm going to give you the chance to write one for yourself. It's very easy to do. It seems a little bit contrived at first. And the one thing I want to warn you about is there's an old Indian story about the 6 blind men asked to describe an elephant. Have you heard the story, just quickly? Okay, a few people have, right? And so one of them comes around and they feel the elephant's trunk and they say, oh, an elephant's like a snake, it's long and curly. And the other one feels the elephant's tusks and says the elephant is hard and solid and very tough. And the other one feels the elephant's tail and goes, the elephant's very swishy. And the other one feels the elephant's hide and goes, the elephant's like a big brick wall. And none of them really describes the elephant as a whole. So when you do this positioning matrix, as you fill in these 9 categories, you're probably going to find that the things you put in each of these boxes doesn't in any way describe you. Okay, but together, they help to position you. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I reckon the easiest way to start is by categories. A category is like, what's your job description, what's your title, how would people describe you? So for me, I say social media consultant. Even though, I'm not more than a social media consultant, but that's what I put in category because it goes, people get, oh yeah, social media consultant, don't invite him to parties. But they want to put you in a little category. The next thing is history, so a couple of things in your history that got you there. So I say I've been using the internet since 1987, long before people knew it existed. I've been working for 15 years with thought leaders and business owners, helping them leverage their message. Okay, so that's what you need, a couple of things that support that category. What I'm really obsessed about, so this is obsession, what I'm really passionate about is helping people, teams and organizations just leverage the power of their people and leverage the power of the individual. Okay, so that's all about me. This column here is all about them. So, and I like to start with the middle one. Problem is what they say. People often say to me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I would say, people often say to me, I don't have time for social media. Okay, so that's the sort of stuff that goes in there. Solution is what you do to help them solve that problem. So I've got people often say to me, I don't have time for social media. So what I do is I do private mentoring to help people be able to use social media without it having to take a lot of time. And I have a monthly program where we meet face to face or we talk over Skype. So they want to know what you can offer them. And it doesn't have to be something you can sell them, it's just what you can offer them. Because I know, so this is their purpose, it's like their obsession, because I know what you're really interested in about is not social media, you're just interested in making sure that your message is heard and you're influential. So do you get those three, those six? Okay, so this is about you, this is about them, this is about it. So the third one is what it is that you do in terms of what, so this one is about you as a person, this is about them as a person, and this is about what you offer. So what makes me different is what goes under uniqueness. So what makes me different is that Forbes last year rated me the #5 social media influencer in the world in one of my areas of expertise. All right, so that's one thing that I think I can use it as a credibility piece. Think of me as a GPS. This is where you come up with the metaphor. Think of me as a GPS for your online strategy. You tell me where you want to go, and I'll map it out for you so you can get there the fastest and the most efficient way. Okay, so that's my analogy. Stories, a case study or an example. So for example, I was working with the CEO of an aged care facility, and over the last 6 months, she's gone from not having any social media to having a blog, engaging with people on LinkedIn, writing a book, and just doing amazing things, which is doing amazing things. Okay, so that's my positioning matrix. Nikki, can you be my compulsory volunteer? So, do you want to just do yours? Just run through yours?
Gosh, I hope I can remember.
Yeah, but you can just make it up as you go,
Yeah.
right? It's not that hard to do.
Okay, so I'm really passionate about how you can help people work more effectively together. I've got over 25 years experience working in leadership and management, and so I really see myself in the whole space of being a leadership and management coach. One of the problems that people often talk to me about at work is about poor human relationships and how work just doesn't get done because people don't get on very well together. And so what I'm able to do is work with people on a one-on-one or through leadership mentoring programs to actually help them solve their problems. Because I know what they really want to do is they want to work really well with people. They want to really make sure that their customers and their clients are looked after. What makes me unique is that I've got 25 years experience working in the public, private and not-for-profit sector, plus I've got a number of qualifications to back me up. I've got a Doctor of Business and I've got some undergraduate qualifications. One of the clients that I recently worked with said to me I was a little bit like Superman because I could fly over the top of the situation and look down and give them some advice and support about what was really going on. And a recent client of mine that I worked with was able to turn around their organisation by about $500,000 because of the work that we did with him and his leadership team.
Okay, so can you see how it works? All right. Now, when you meet someone at a networking function, they say, "What do? You don't go through all 9 of them." I'm just letting you know. But this is kind of good. So what Nikki just did would be great to put on a LinkedIn profile. Okay, so if you don't know what to write about yourself on LinkedIn, do that. If you don't know what to write about yourself on Google+, do that. If you don't know what to write about yourself on Twitter, it's a little bit more limited, but do that and pick out the highlights because it doesn't give you as much space. Same with Facebook. Right? But that's the way to get started. If you want to do a video about yourself and what you do that. Right? I'm going to give you 5 minutes now to do that for yourself. So just write down one for yourself. It may be clunky, it may be clumsy. I'm not going to ask anyone to share it. I just want to give you the experience of doing it. All right, everyone, thank you for doing that. So look, you might not have finished that now, but at least I've given you enough to take it away and complete that. You find some really powerful things. In fact, I hope you find that the 2 things I've shared with you in terms of practical things are really useful and things that you can put into practice. So you know how to now show your face and position yourself. You know how to get started with blogging. So just to finish off with, put a bit of music here. Just like to listen to this. So just before I finish off, I'm going to finish with this. I've got 5 questions for you about this music. What is this? Does anyone recognize it? Yeah, Pachelbel's canon. I heard it from a few people. Yeah, so it is a canon in D major. Question 2, we kind of answered already. It was like who composed it, and it was Gihan Perera, who's a German composer. The question 6 is a little bit harder. When was it written? So I did a bit of research about this, and there's no exact date for it, but it's around about 300 years ago. Question 4, what else did Pachelbel write? So again, in my research, I found he wrote a lot. He was prolific. And if you're a serious scholar of classical music, you kind of know about all of that, right? But for most of us, this is the only thing that we've heard. Would you agree? Okay, so we've got this German dude who lived 300 years ago. He wrote a lot of music, most of which we don't remember. But there's one piece of music that probably played hundreds of times every day. And it's brought pleasure to millions of lives. So here's my 5th question. How will the world remember you 300 years from now? Because I reckon, if we're going to be serious about this, and we really do want to build up our influence and authority, we're going to look beyond just what we're going to do today and tomorrow and just in a small sphere of influence. Because I think we've had never better time than now to make a difference in the world. I think you've got to decide where you're going to have your influence, whether it's just in your organization, in your family, in your community. I think you've got to decide when you're going to have your influence. Is it today, tomorrow, for the rest of your life, or 300 years from now? I can do it, you can do it, we all can do it. So let's get out there and change the world.